Live from the internet, it's the Narrative After Show, bringing you the entire week in review. With Rachel Cawthorn, Eric Garland, and here's your host, Zeb Chalet.
Well, howdy. How are you, Rachel Cawthorn? It's nice to be with you tonight on this after show on a Friday night. Can you believe it's May 20th already? I was like, oh my gosh.
No.
What happened to the
That's
year?
nuts, huh?
It is a little shocking. I'm a little surprised by that. How's your week been?
I solemnly swear I've been up to no good.
What kind of no good have you been up to?
The kind of no good I can't alliterate to. I can only alliterate to. So, no, but it's been a busy week, work, getting stuff ready, making war. Making war, not love.
Are you finding some? I love your Twitter feed lately because it's full of the best one-liners in the entire world. And I'm sure you're just testing stuff on the audience, which is a good way of doing it.
Exactly
but,
right.
Have you found any gems that you particularly like on your Twitter feed this week?
Yeah. And I mean, frankly, I'm up to so many things that I cannot tell anybody about. It's really frustrating because I want to tell people, hey, look at this thing that's coming, but I'm not working for Strike Pack anymore. I'm working with other things and other groups and other people, and so I have to just wait till these things come out.
I love that, and I'll be waiting patiently for all those things because I have faith in you, and if anyone can do it, you can do it. I'm sure that there's a messaging issue maybe with the Democrats up until now, but there's certainly a messaging fix with the Democrats. It can't be that impossible to fix it. And if anyone can, Rachel Cawthorn can. I believe in you. We have an interesting show tonight. Eric Garland is meant to be here, but he's not because he's busy doing some other crazy things, good things, I hope. So we'll be taking an extra look at our YouTube chat today where I see already some folk from Arizona are there. Stacey Pinkston has joined and Just Another Human has joined and all these others. Keep joining us there. And also, if you're a member of Patreon, you can join us at narrative.org/TV, where you can actually get your messages on screen here. So that's narrative.org/TV. If you're a patron, we'll be looking out for any messages you have for Rachel and I during the show. Now, it's been a busy week, as we pointed out, but no worse a week has there been for someone other than... That's a clumsy statement. But I was going to talk about Madison Cawthorn, which was my big topic of the week, because I love this particular... let me put this up here so you guys can see it at the same time. I like this poster that I did for Madison, which is...
very much.
Which is all about Madison Goes Dark. Here we go. Let's put it up here. Oh, I lost the background. But there you see, Maddy Goes Dark and other election stories, because... this was a particularly good week, I think, for Democrats in some ways. I mean, we've certainly didn't get as much of a routing as we thought from the Trump nominees or candidates in the primaries. Is that right? Am I reading it correctly? That things weren't as bad as they could have been?
No, I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, people get hung up on which candidate did Trump support, and actually endorse in a race. But most of the field in most of these contests are aligned with the Trump doctrine of, the big lie, big coup, and future guarantees of election malfeasance. So it's really important for people to understand, like, you can slice data and make yourself feel good. You can say, oh, well, look, the Trump nominee won in Pennsylvania, or it looks like Oz will win, in the end. But 70% of Pennsylvania Republicans didn't vote for the Trump guy. But another 20% voted for the lady who actually marched down to the Capitol.
Right, it's true.
So,
the actual insurrectionists did actually get voted in some instances. So you're saying that's not necessarily the best of news, but it's good that Trump maybe is not as key a figure as he was. Maybe he is.
No, he is just as much of a figure. Okay. In fact, the NBC data that came out, 55% of Republicans today, after all this stuff that's happened and all of the revelations, 55% of Republicans in this poll still identify him as the leader of the party, dude. I mean, if I'm looking at the 2024 nomination cycle and I'm getting those numbers, I'm feeling pretty good if I'm Donald Trump.
It's really fascinating, right? Because we've never really had a leader of a party when they're not in. When the president has only left office and they've left office, they've left the
Yep.
stage. Here he is, still, functioning as a leader of a party. That is
The
not,
Don.
yeah,
He's the
that's not,
Don
yeah.
of the party, right?
You
That's a little different than being a leader of the party.
Yes, but
I
he's
mean,
used
he's
to
running
that.
a mob. I mean, it's basically like a crime,
Yeah.
cartel now in the Republican Party. So
I'm glad you used the word cartel because I do feel like that's exactly what they are. I mean, I feel like that's maybe a word that we underuse, but there is a definite feeling amongst these Republicans that they're basically a crime organization, that they've given up on democracy and picked up crime. It's not just like, it's not just that they want autocracy. They just are interested in criminal activity. And that seems to be a theme. And, no one is leading that charge more eagerly than this woman. Much
yep.
ado about Ginny is what I called the slide, but she's in the New York Times today with some stunning new emails, which she wrote to people who are involved in selecting the state electors in Arizona. And I know that's a state you're very familiar with. In this particular set of emails, this is kind of stunning. So I'll just read you the bit from the article here, so you can, if you haven't seen it, you can catch up. It says here, this is according to the Washington Post, sorry, Virginia Ginny Thomas, the conservative activist and wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, pressed Arizona lawmakers after the 2020 election to set aside Joe Biden's popular vote victory and choose a clean slate of electors, whatever that may mean,
Yep.
according to emails obtained by the Washington Post. The emails sent by Ginny Thomas to a pair of lawmakers on November the 9th, 2 days after the elections, argued that legislators needed to intervene because the vote had been marred by fraud. Though she did not mention either candidate by name, the context was clear. I mean, this is a Supreme Court justice wife. This is not like
Yep. Oh, yeah.
nobody. This is a
Huge
real
problem. I
somebody.
mean, that does not give her some kind of legal immunity, by the way, right?
No.
No, I mean, if anything, it should compel more, in my opinion, more scrutiny and more, I
It
mean, she's the
should.
wife of a Supreme Court a judge.
People are refusing to pick this up because no one knows where it fits into the diagram. They look at the diagram of the American Constitution. They're like, well, is this in this branch or is this in this branch or does this cross over? Who adjudicates stuff that involves the Supreme Court? Now, she's not on the Supreme Court, correct? But she
No.
has influence clearly over
No,
her
I think that the
husband.
purpose of the law, she's a resident of whatever state they live, DC, Virginia, Maryland,
Mm,
probably, right?
I
One of
guess. Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
And she attempted to orchestrate in a conspiracy the overturning of a federal election in
Yep.
another state.
Yep.
So
That's
to
exactly
me,
right.
it's a pretty obviously a federal case, right? She's a resident of one state committing a crime in another, and they definitely better investigate it.
I hope they do. I wonder if they will, because it's the January 6th committee seems to be uninterested in focusing on her, and that's surprising to me. But I'll read you one of the emails that came out. That just is her. This is her writing, I think, to one of these people who chooses these electors. Article 2 of the United States Constitution gives you an awesome responsibility to choose our state's electors. Read the November 9th email. Please take action to ensure that a clean slate of electors is chosen. Before you choose your state's electors, consider what will happen to the nation we all love if you don't stand up and lead. I mean, who is she? Why is this woman telling people what their, awesome responsibility is according to her interpretation of the United States Constitution? It seems to me that she's sort of hinting that that is something that, almost speaking in the voice of Clarence Thomas there, giving the Supreme Court authority to command these people to do these things. I mean, it would be something to get an email like that from the wife of a Supreme Court justice. You would take it seriously. And especially if you were that familiar with what was going on in the world, in the broader electoral interference world, you might not think, might think that's true. You might think that this is a Supreme Court justice speaking through his wife to the people of Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean you get this certain amount of credibility and legitimacy out of that kind of background, and you can see that she's intentionally, kind of framing herself almost as Supreme Court just judge by osmosis, right, or
Yeah.
proximity.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
so yeah, it's a huge problem because if you think about being a little lowly Arizona state Republican in the state house, because
Mhm.
let's keep in mind who people are that serve in these state legislatures. Most of them are very humble origin
Mm.
on the right and on the left,
Yeah.
and these positions are, I mean, not humble like coming from the working class, but they're not billionaires, right,
Yeah.
and millionaires, and a lot of them work in session, but other than that, have full time other careers, right?
Mhm.
So to have the wife of a Supreme Court justice reaching out and exerting that kind of pressure, it's a very significant abuse.
Yeah, I mean, she certainly is committing a crime here, and it's not just this. We've seen a buildup of evidence around Ginny Thomas, everything from her emails to Meadows, text messages to Meadows, but also her activity on the Council for National Policy, where she's been an active member for a long period of time, and so that is the council that has been moving a lot of these things, and has been, actively pursuing an autocratic state and a theocracy of a state as well, not just a autocratic state. So it's certainly, she's not just an accidental observer into this. In fact, I was really glad because I'd not seen this in the mainstream media before, but the Washington Post points out something that is really important about Ginny's past, and that is this. So according to the Post, um, she has something to do with Steve Bannon going back 3 decades. Ginny
Mm.
Thomas has insisted that she and her husband have kept their work separate, but her political activism has set her apart from other Supreme Court spouses. About a decade ago, she and Stephen K. Bannon, sorry, I said 3, but I meant 1 decade ago, who later became chief strategist for the Trump White House, were among the organizers of Groundswell, a group formed to battle liberals and establishment Republicans. Groundswell dedicated itself to a 30-front war seeking to fundamentally transform the nation, according to emails uncovered by Mother Jones at the time. Election integrity was among the topics discussed in the group's first months, the emails show. So Steve Bannon, I used to call him Beijing Bannon because that's really what I thought his sole source of income was, but which it definitely is. I mean, he certainly is allied to folks in China, but I suspect as well that he gets other money from other countries who are interested in his intelligence work. So I don't want to say he's exclusively China, but basically you've got Beijing Bannon there colluding with Ginny Thomas 10 years ago to basically do what they're doing right now, which is overthrow the will of the people. That is, that's not a good look. That's not a good look. This guy's he should have registered at FARA if he hasn't yet. But there's a lot of evidence to suggest that that's exactly where he gets his marching orders from. He's from Beijing. So if that's where the origins of all of this comes from, and we know that during January the 6th, he was one of the key people who instigated the whole thing. I mean, he was the one who went to Donald Trump and said, hey, let's do the insurrection on January the 6th. Let's disrupt the vote on January the 6th. So he's one of the key people involved in that. And he did that right after getting his pardon. So, talk about a conspiracy, a double conspiracy. First to get pardoned and then to throw this insurrection. And now we know that it's
But
potentially
he's not the
colluding.
only one, right? I
No.
mean, Roger Stone got pardoned to also help plot and plan and execute an insurrection,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
Michael
my
Flynn.
God, look at like the level. I mean, if we heard this shit about any other country, we'd be like, God, look at that shithole third world country,
It's true.
Like
It's
it's a
true.
problem.
It is really true, and I worry about that this is where we're at, because there is so much, just so much corruption going on that it's sad. Because how do we turn this group around? Like these people cannot be reformed. These people are not going to change their mind. They're in now. They're sort of, it's like joining a cult. It's very hard to pull them
They're
out of
not.
those
It's not.
situations.
It's worse than that, Zev. Because
Mm,
think about, it's not just that they're not going to change their minds. They're into it now. No, no, they plotted it. Right.
right.
So like they're now like yielding or bringing in like the fruits of like massive investment and labor.
Mm,
And yeah, they not only do like they can't be swayed by like, hey, you're accidentally destroying democracy. That's the point. It's not a bug. It's the
yeah.
entire purpose of what they've done is to put us in this moment, and they're so close to tipping it over, to getting
Mm.
it all the way across to into the end zone. Like that really, like I think we're on like the 5. They're definitely in the red zone.
It is a pretty when you say red zone, I don't know what you mean by red zone, but it's certainly
You don't
to
know
me.
what that means.
No, to me it means
Damn Canadians.
I know that there's a sports term for that. I get that,
No, in
but
real football,
in
American football, okay?
they have football here in
The end
Canada.
zone, when you get within a certain yardage, come on, Zev, you don't know this?
I do know this. I do know this, but I was
Oh,
trying to make a pun of the red zone because I was thinking the red zone as in the China zone. Because I do think that
no.
China has corrupted the entire GOP, and I think that we're beginning to see that really is the case when you look at Ginny and Bannon and company and all these other things, which we're going to show you a little later on, because there's more Chinese influence going on in tonight's show amongst Republicans. That's coming up. Marissa, by the way, says the fact that Clarence hasn't divorced Ginny means he endorses all her crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think he feeds it, to tell you the truth. I think he's just as bad as she is, but not as stupid.
Right, which is kind of surprising for an African American. I mean, it just seems like to me that, it just seems like unlikely that he would be the person who would be doing that. But then you can't.
There's always exceptions to
Yeah.
rules, dude.
I know.
Always. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Daisy
Yeah.
Fiddler says she agrees, by the way. Thank you, guys. And again, that's narrative.org/TV. If you guys want to comment on the show, we're also watching the YouTube chat. Rachel, you've been out and about and talking a lot about what's it called, replacement theory. I mean, that's sort of the new buzzword amongst Republicans as CPAC takes place in Hungary of all places. What's going on? What's this whole white replacement theory about?
Yeah, I mean, thinking of, or speaking of Steve Bannon, I'm sure he's in Hungary right now, or at least getting zoomed in to attend CPAC in Hungary, where they're celebrating white autocracy, right, conservative far right autocracy, and that's exactly what they're emulating us to be, a former Eastern Soviet bloc country. Who, by the way, like this conservative pimper's paradise like notion that Tucker Carlson has, it has free community or free college, universal health care, paid family leave, right? But why
I didn't know that.
no
Is
guns,
that true? Is that
like
true about
basically
Hungary?
no private gun ownership at all, right? But what they like about it is that it's new. It's slipped into autocracy now officially, but it's still very early into this new system. And Orban has used that his control to make some significant changes, not the least of which is to come pretty hard off of like the great replacement theory stuff. And that's, why what they want to emulate. It's a European construct. You're here, replacement theory. And I also caution people not to think of it as the great replacement theory, because whether it's here or over there in Hungary, it's about white replacement. Okay.
Yeah.
The neo-Nazis called it the great replacement, even though it's really about, hey, white people are getting replaced, right? Because they knew it would be more marketable. So let's not do them any favors and use their more marketable brand.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the white replacement theory, WRT, and it's a lot scarier than CRT, I might add.
That's a good point. That's a very smart point you make there. The reality of what these policies look like are the kind of policies that we're seeing in states right now. You've got people in the abortion laws, for example. Those abortion laws are not designed really to protect life. They're designed to make it impossible for poor people to get access to abortion and make their lives miserable. It's designed to sink people in poverty further into poverty. It's designed to make Black people not want to live in those states. That's what it's designed to do. It's designed to absolutely, to accentuate the differences between what white people and Black people go through on a daily basis. And that really is the kind of white replacement theory that reminds me a lot of what it was like growing up in South Africa. It wasn't obvious a lot of the time that you were living in an apartheid state, except Black people had a lot less, and Black people had a lot less access to things, and that they had less access to even travel or transportation or any of the things that you as a white person could have. And that's what it feels like they're sort of adopting as their basis. It's not racism, it's just economic apartheid almost. It's a way of introducing race laws through apartheid, through economic disparity, so to speak. So that to me is really a challenging environment to be in. I mean, we're fighting a monster here. And people who are sort of sugarcoating it or buying DeSantis's or Abbott's, sweet talking of these policies are misunderstanding them. There's nothing there's nothing good that comes out of any of these abortion laws or the Don't Say Gay bill. At the end of the day, it's going to hurt the people who are weaker and are suffering more. Those are the people it's going to hurt, and it's going to weaken the whole American Union, because we won't be able to build a powerful union that can be viewed respectfully around the world.
I mean, it is going to mostly hurt the meek, right? The meek and unpowerful. But like, let's be clear, that's not good enough to them, right? They're structuring this shit to get us all. So they're going to catch those people, which any like restrictive and draconian abortion policy would, but they are casting their net so fine that it's going to capture all the middle class and upper middle class people too. They're making it, their goal is to make it so that you can't take somebody out of state to get an abortion. They'll be fighting to do the national abortion ban. If they take control of Congress and the presidency in 24, I guarantee you that Mitch McConnell would suspend the filibuster for that one piece of policy, right? Yeah. And so, like, there's nowhere and no woman that is going to be fully enfranchised with the same rights as her male counterparts anywhere in the US the day that Roe decision comes down. And that's really the conversation that we want to be having. But yeah, in terms of these red states, think about the time period in between where you may have national abortion bans go into effect in 23 or so states, outlawing it all abortion, even Plan B. Right. And think about that America, because we could be living in that America, frankly, as early as the fall for some of these states, because trigger laws are going to make abortion illegal in about 13 states. I think Michigan, the governor up there managed to sue to keep that law from enacting immediately upon repeal. But I think most states that have it are not going to contest the trigger law. And we could see abortion policies come out, model legislation that come across all these Republican chambers that have been focusing on 6-week bans. And that's a model bill that was cooked up in the Republican legislation cooking machine at ALEC. We're going to see model bills, I think, that ban it from completely ban abortion, no period of time, often maybe without any exceptions, and they'll go after the Plan B pill, which probably prevents, I have no idea how many, but it prevents a lot of abortions, right? It's
and then on top of that, they've got these systems where you as a citizen can spy on your neighbor, and if they think that you've had an abortion or attempted to have an abortion or anything like that, then they are the ones who can take you to court. I mean, that is a very cynical place for America to land up. It's a very dark,
there's Republican legislators who have gone on the record to say specifically, we are going to make these laws so that women cannot leave the state. That's the goal. So don't think for 1 second that this legislation in a complete constitutional wildland, which is where the status of woman will be once the foundation, our jurisprudence foundation for our constitutional rights that people keep talking about, women have this constitutional right. That's the fucking point of the case. If they eviscerate Roe, we don't have constitutional right to privacy, and all of that stuff is just wiped out. So it's really important for people to understand the severity of what's coming down the track, that they're not safe wherever they are, because ultimately if they take national control, they're going to use it to come after abortion nationally. But we really are going to see the politics, I think, switch right away, because we're going to hear about women trying to flee states who have cancer for late term abortion, other health things, rape victims. It's just going to be a shit show of headlines.
What would happen in that environment? Like, say someone does have cancer late term abortion, if they flee a state, they're no longer welcome back in that state, or they're going to be arrested?
No, I think these states are going to design bills that turn them into felony murder. They're going to charge them with murder. like, that's what the goal is, dude. So, like,
even in cases of rape, even in cases of anything like that,
who knows?
Wow.
I mean, the law will allow for it, though, right? Some of these proposed laws are being designed specifically to keep people from traveling out of state to receive abortion services. That we know for sure. That is not conjecture. What
Mm,
is conjecture and always is with policy is what will happen once it's implemented and executed, right?
right.
Because it meets the natural environment of human behavior. But we do have a good idea of what human behavior does under certain circumstances and
Mm,
how things tend to evolve. So, it's not like policy cannot be anticipated in any way. And if you think about like just between Oregon and Idaho, Idaho is one of the most restrictive abortion states. It's going to go full draconian as soon as possible after Roe, and these two states are on border with Oregon passed a statewide constitutional protection for Roe in the state of Oregon. You cannot
wow.
ask for two more dioramic, situations, and we're going to start to see very quickly what happens to women when they leave Idaho to get abortive services.
And what this kind of thing will do to your average relationship, your average marriage with is can be quite striking. I mean, a lot of things that you would have taken for granted as some sort of rights to secure women in domestic abuse cases and other things like that could really quickly go out the window based on this kind of legislation. That is really terrifying when you put it that way, and I think more people need to put it that way. The reality of it is we're all going to get stripped of our rights, and we are going to be subject of the state, and whoever that state
Yeah,
is going to be a very frightening looking thing. I mean, it's not like we're
yeah,
if you're it's not like we know, we actually do know what they look like, so we have a good sense of who they are, and they're not friendly by any means. We have to take a little break. I've got to read this quick ad, and then we've got a bunch of messages. We'll get to everybody, and then also we'll keep going down the list of all the shenanigans. I'm sorry to do this, Rachel, but you're going to have to listen to my Athletic Greens ad.
no,
So here we go.
I
So, and it seems that every day there's a new health threat. So that is true. And one of the best ways to reclaim your immune system is eating healthy. There was a new health threat today. Wasn't there some monkeypox or something like that? I'm not suggesting anything about monkeypox at Athletic Greens. There's no connection there. But I will say that the best way to reclaim your immune system is eating healthy. But how do you get all the vitamins and nutrients you need in a convenient, affordable way? It's really difficult. I've been trying to do it. It's hard to get all your nutrients that you need just on the food you eat alone. Never mind if you're trying to balance your budgets. That's why I did the 30-day Athletic Greens challenge for 1 month in April. I took the AG1 supplement throughout April and tracked my increases in energy, my levels, my increased in energy levels, my overall well-being, and how my immune system was functioning. And I got to tell you, after 30 days, it was pretty remarkable, and I'm still doing it. I did not stop taking Athletic Greens every day. It tastes delicious. It really does. You put it in a glass of water, you stir it around for a little bit, and it doesn't taste like your typical green drink. This one is actually delicious. It's a little tropical in flavor and really, really yummy. Plus, AG1 is engineered to provide all the right nutrients at just the right time. Whether you want increased energy or improved muscle recovery, they've got it covered. And because they care about your wallet too, AG1 will only cost you around $3 a day, and there are no hidden fees. And this is a special offer for Athletic Greens Narrative fans. So if you're a Narrative fan, you get this incredibly generous offer from them. They're going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/narrative. That's NARATIV, like we spell narrative. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/narrative to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. There you go. Now you know. So we're back live, and we're talking to. We were live there as well, huh? But now we're
yeah.
back live. Let's talk to some people on the Twitter here and on the message board on narrative.org/TV. Some Daisy Fiddler is saying that she thinks that Ginny seems of the same ilk as Oz. I met Oz. I know Oz. I met him when I was working in television, and he was a pretty awesome guy. I gotta say, he was a pretty nice guy. Now, I mean, was he interested in his own fame and fortune? Yes. Did he sell people a lot of crazy things on TV that he shouldn't have in terms of healthcare? Yes, he did all those things. But really nice, really sweet, really generous. Was a good guy. So I don't endorse him in any way. Of course not, because I think he's obviously just finding another chapter in his wealth building. But all that matters is he doesn't seem like a terrible human being. There's probably some worse choices in that list of Pennsylvania candidates. I want to talk to you about the damn guy in Pennsylvania. Is it Federer? What's his name again? I might get his name.
Yep. John Fetterman.
John Fetterman. What's your take on John Fetterman?
I think that it speaks for himself, right? I mean, as soon as I saw John Fetterman, I think it was, during 2020, I was like, oh, that guy's gonna be a great candidate,
Yeah.
and he's authentic as fuck, right?
Yeah.
And like the idea that you would like, there's nothing to fear about in this environment. A candidate like John Fetterman. In fact, it's, I will sleep easier at night knowing he's on the ticket in Pennsylvania, because Shapiro is very digestible, but also very blasé, and Fetterman's all spicy.
Mm.
And there's actually a really dynamic young African American running too on the third statewide. So it's going to be a great ticket, and Fetterman is definitely a terrific candidate.
I think so too. He's as a lieutenant governor, he was so visible during COVID and really appeared in a lot of places, but with a real sort of folksy and earnest kind of way of approaching things. Some people on the progressive part of the Democrats say that he is, a new type of Democrat, that he's not a progressive black candidate, that he's a poor white person's candidate versus a poor black person candidate. And I've heard that, from some people on the progressive left. Is that what's necessary right now? Maybe that's just what's necessary to move, in order to attract the electorate, which has moved more to the far right. Maybe the Democrats have to move a little bit to the right to get that those swing voters. Would that be the case?
Fetterman doesn't move to the right, guys. Hopefully, what people are figuring out is that what's more important than left, right, or like these issue positions is being a brand ambassador, being out there and owning the fact that you're a Democrat, and then defining for the electorate what that means and why that's better for them. And Fetterman fills all of those boxes.
Well, but you should do this kind of stuff. You're good at the spinning stuff and this good election strategizing, messaging stuff. It's really good. It suits you well. It suits you well. Some people on the YouTube are also saying,
well, I better be good at it if I sit there and critique other people all fucking day.
Yeah, you're the best there is. No, you are. I'm very careful of what I say, Roger, I have to say. Carolyn Garriman is saying...
Oh, don't tell me you're guarded. That makes me sad.
I'm not guarded. I just don't want to be proven wrong, because I know you'll eviscerate me every time I say it. It was just like
I'm
a slight
all
look.
The time, dude. I totally am not. I am... I am good at what I'm good at, almost like Rain Man,
Yeah.
And then boy, the shit that I'm bad at though, guys, I can get lost. I cannot understand how people you ask where is something, and they'll say, oh, go west on Highway 1, and you're like, west,
West.
How in the fuck am I supposed to know right here which way west is? If it's sunrise or sunset, got it, right? But if it's high noon, dude, what am I gonna do? And I'm at a loss as to how people do that. So yeah, I'm good at the things I'm good at, but I am by no means
the things you're good at, you're really, really good at. So, which is why we love having you here, because you're so good at this stuff. There's a lot of other people on this chat group wanting to share their thoughts. We'll get to them in just a second, but I just want to get to a couple of more people that I've just deserve some mention this week. We had mentioned him off the top. Here is the man they call Madison Cawthorn. He's also announced this week that he is, according to Twitter, according to his Instagram message, he's going to, I guess he's joining the dark forces of the MAGA movement. I didn't know there were darker forces of the MAGA movement. But here's what he said on Instagram, and thankfully provided us a list of all the people that he is endorsing and feeling happy about in that world of his. But he says that when the establishment turned their guns on me, the guns on him, what? When the Uni Party, what's a Uni Party, coalesced to defeat an American First member, very few people had my back. This is the list that you see on maybe 20 people, are the people who did have his back, apparently, came to the defense when it was not politically profitable. These are honorable men and women who are the type of friends anyone yearns to have at the beginning of a change of the national figure, who I believe are patriots. But I'm on a mission now to expose those who say and promise one thing, yet legislate and work towards another. Self-profiteering globalist goals. It's time for dark MAGA to truly take command. We have an enemy to defeat, but will never be able to defeat them until we defeat the cowardly and weak members of our own party. Their days are numbered, and we are coming. Wow. he's going nowhere. Obviously, I mean, this guy's done, right? Presumably, he's done. But
No, not at all, dude.
no.
Zev, check it out. Go put that shit back on the TV for a
Okay,
second.
okay.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
this should okay. Yeah, you see it like
Like, I
that?
want people to see this. This is the future NSAI, whatever, the National Socialist German Workers' Party. There's your brand. That's what it's going to be called. Now we know what the Nazi movement's going to be in America. It's going to be called the America First Party. Okay.
Right,
And
right.
Madison has just listed out its starting roster that we will watch grow and grow and grow unless we do something right away to defeat it. So no, Madison Cawthorn's not going to disappear. He's this is hard for me to feel, but I know, like, if I was being objective, he's a good looking guy with a he's got the wheelchair thing, he's got media, it's all he cares about is media. I mean, he's always been in Congress to be on media, not to do anything with policy. So he's not going away. That said, I mean, I also want to point out too, like, he didn't get primaried because of those things. Like, this statement is not why. Like, he might have created that in his mind, but the reason he got purged out is because he can't keep his mouth shut on the party's biggest secrets, and so he had to go. I
Yeah.
mean, he's not purged out because he's too radical. It's so important to emphasize that.
Yeah.
They purged Madison Cawthorn because the dude couldn't keep his mouth shut
About the
and they
cocaine
didn't trust him.
orgies, right? I mean, it was the cocaine orgies that he couldn't keep it. Which, I mean, every time they put one of these releases out, I thought, well, these releases about him that was sort of tawdry and unsavory, you'd think, oh, well, he must be doing that. They must be doing that because the cocaine orgies must be real. Otherwise, they wouldn't be going after him. I mean, it just
No
feels
doubt.
to me like
I mean, they definitely do. I mean, you saw, guys, they purged Liz Cheney out of leadership, and now are attempting to purge her out of the party for being antithesis to Madison Cawthorn. It's not about that.
Yeah,
It was
right.
about this extra bridge too far, talking about dirty little secrets. And then once that started to happen, by the way, I mean, it's not like this shit's all organic. I have to say, get hats off, tip of the hat to whoever was behind the work revealing all this Cawthorn shit.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful political hit job, and we needed it, and it felt great. And so I'm happy to see him gone.
I'm happy to see him gone too. The list of people here, I mean, look at these people. It's like Tucker Carlson, I don't know all of these people, but Marjorie Taylor Greene, usual suspects, Matt Gaetz, Donald Trump, the great Charlie Kirk,
Yep.
Paul Gosar, Steve Bannon. It's like a who's who of the insurrection here.
That's
Cernovich.
your group.
Yeah.
I mean, he fucking basically just gave us a list of his ride or die insurrection buddies.
Yeah.
Like, these are the people that he truly trusts, right? That are completely on the boat with him.
Yeah. These are the people as well that, I keep throwing this up there because people need to remember that this is what he does for his vacations. Madison Cawthorn there on vacation, being at the house of the Fuhrer, seeing the Eagle's Nest has been one of my bucket lists for a while. It did not disappoint. Strange to hear so many laughs and share such good times with my brother, where only 79 years ago, a supreme evil shared laughs and good times with his compatriots. That's what it reminds me of.
Which is how anyone would define their time at the Eagle's Nest, right?
Yeah. I mean, that is shocking. That is just shocking.
Oh my God, Like, I don't know if you guys saw this on my Twitter feed, and not to plug another show on your show, but the Tony Michaels show put out this graphic, like this video of the Star Wars. You know how Star Wars start with the big scripts that come and it like goes up at the screen and it disappears.
Yeah.
So they put that rant from Madison Cawthorn into like a Star Wars format with a voice that reads it out, and it literally, like, it could be one of those things. It's so weird.
But it's probably his inspiration. I mean, where did he get Dark MAGA from? I mean, the first thing I thought was it sounds like Darth Vader. It just does. It just has that same ring. So maybe that's where he got it from.
You always have to figure, like, there's got to be people out there rooting for the bad guys, right?
Yeah.
And now we know who they are.
We sure do.
They're the kids that go to the Eagle's Nest on their bucket list.
On their vacation. The last thing I'd want to do on my vacation in Europe would be to go to the Eagle's Nest. It's the very last thing. I couldn't think of any. There's like 1,000 things I'd rather do in Europe than that.
No shit, dude. How do you even get that on a bucket list?
True, right, exactly. Cawthorn loves Hitler, says Marissa. I can't help but think he knows what he's doing when he says genteel politics. He does. That is a weird thing, the genteel politics. What is he talking about there? Is he really the Führer of the future in America, or is he just making noise because he's a little hurt by losing his seat there?
Yeah, I also noticed the genteel politics
Yeah.
thing. I can't remember, like, I remember it feeling out of context,
Mm.
right? Like, because it's, of course, the gentils, for people who don't know, that's how the Nazis referred. I mean, that's how, at that time period, really, in Europe and all over Europe, the way, Christians and Jews were delineated was Gentile and Jew, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I don't, I remember seeing that and thinking that is some weird shit.
Did he
That
misspell that? He
said
misspelled genteel as
that's
gentile,
why I'm
right?
wondering. I thought he spelt it. Maybe he must have spelt it wrong, or she wouldn't have quoted it. So
Yeah,
I
that's
trust you,
interesting. Can you tell us,
Marissa.
Marissa? Because I thought gentile was actually spelled that way. I thought genteel was spelled like gentile, but maybe you're right. Maybe he just misused the spelling, which would make it even more obvious that he's
Yeah.
referring to Hitler. Wow, that's kind of
Yeah,
crazy.
like, the more I think about it, I'm like, okay, there's no way that, like, even 12 months ago that I would even really know, like, what the eagle's nest was until I really took this deep dive into, like, studying the Nazis to prevent them, right?
Mm.
And I'm just thinking anyone that put that shit on their bucket list over all the things in Europe to go see also had to be looking quite extensively
Right.
into Nazism to
Yeah,
have
clearly.
that come on their radar, dude.
Yeah.
Because,
You
like,
know that the
there's no way
Führer
I
has
would have.
a two dot thing above the U, and you go onto the trouble on your Instagram to figure out how to put that in there.
No
Then
shit.
then and I would say, they're saying maybe he spelled genteel wrong, but he did spell Gentile. So if that's the correct spelling of genteel, Marissa, that you put in there, then I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's exactly what he's trying to say.
Yeah,
It's a
me
little
too.
terrifying. Daisy
It
Fiddler
is.
says the GOP is a Hitler cult, even if they don't invoke the name. Certainly beginning to appear like that. That's
Yep. And
that
now we
is
know it's going to be called the America First Party.
yeah.
Right?
FP
FP.
as AFP AF, like
Yep.
Dark Matter AF. It's different from Ultra MAGA, right? Because Ultra MAGA was what the Democrats were saying about the Republicans' extremist policies, was that they were Ultra MAGA. So now
Yeah,
you got
because,
the Dark
we always
MAGA,
got
the
to have
Ultra MAGA.
55 fucking words. We can't just say one thing. Like, there's a difference between MAGA and Ultra MAGA.
Yeah.
Okay?
What is the difference? Do you know?
All it is making my life of branding harder, right? We
Right.
just call them all Trump Republicans, MAGA Republicans, Ultra Magna.
Ultra MAGA is
Like,
hard to say. It's hard to say, I will
it
say.
is. It is. And
Should we
the problem is that, I mean, it's more than just that. So it is that, but it's also that, you're separating this. There's MAGA, and it's 70% of the Republican Party. It's not a coalition, it's not a faction, it's the ruling group.
right.
And you don't want to slice it further down for no reason. You want, in fact, to make it larger, like a big, you see a cougar in the path, make yourself large. That's what they do. They
Right.
they don't say some Democrats are pushing for socialism. They say Democrats, right?
Right.
So we have to return fire in that regard. And so
That's
in that
a really
way,
good point. Really good point.
you don't want to give it's effective to be able to say this is the vast majority of the Republican Party. So from there, we don't want to slice and dice it.
Right. So yeah, they just basically they are one thing. And right now they seem to be one thing. And everyone who was different in that party seems to have left that party, although they still somehow have not found their home in the Democratic Party. They're sort of still out there. Let's turn to another story this week, because it just has the funniest handle I could find anywhere in the world, because this is the scandal of Elon Gate. Did you get this about Elon Musk this week?
Oh my gosh. I just
So
was
there was-
tweeting about how his mother needs to take his damn phone away. I mean, I get, like, why other people might enjoy watching somebody with billions of dollars melt down in public. But for me, it's just, as a mom, it's painful to watch this guy totally tanking himself all day on Twitter. And, you just want to, like, you want someone to grab him and say, you are hurting yourself. Stop.
I think he knows that.
No,
that.
he
I think
thinks he's, I mean, no, when I feel like there's a certain type of personality that can get sucked into one of these things. So there's that, you know what I mean? But also, like, I think he thinks that he's winning. I think he thinks that the things that he's doing are helping, and each thing is another foot down in the shithole that he's digging for himself. And you just, it's painful to watch.
Well, today's scandal, I mean, it wasn't for today, maybe it was yesterday, that he had to pay $250,000 at least from the company because he basically exposed himself to a SpaceX flight attendant, asking her for massage and all sorts of other things, and asking if she could do more.
Dude, everything he's ever done now, they're going to come after everything, and he didn't have to do that to himself. He had been skating in this world with not a lot of scrutiny for, frankly, a lot of smoke. Okay, lots of smoke, not that much scrutiny, because he's kind of this personality cult within himself. And like, I get that, like, his timeline, there must have been some really annoying prodding from the left, but like, who takes like your Twitter comment critics seriously?
Right. I mean,
Especially not a billionaire genius guy who can land rockets backwards, right?
Well, they say he can. I'm not sure he can. He seems like a figurehead to me, but there was only 60% of his Twitter followers are apparently fake or complete bots, which is kind of someone did an analysis claiming that. That doesn't strike me as surprising.
60%?
60%, yeah. 60.
Well, that's good, because the dude's got 93 million or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think about
that's a shit ton of people to hit with misinformation, anti-vax, weird shit,
The thing about the reason why it's so important that these retweets become so significant is that's what gets amplified. I mean, it gets additionally amplified. It's not just the retweets that are being, that are creating an amplification on the message. Twitter's algorithm amplifies things that are retweeted a lot. So you get a double effect every time you get amplified. So if he's got an extra 60 million amplifications on every tweet that he puts out, it's multiples of that ultimately change the messaging around the world. And it's why we're in the hole we're in, I believe. Twitter is the battlefield that all of this is waging on, at least from a policy and a messaging perspective. And it's a wild west out there. It really does not favor what it claims to favor, which is the individual expression. But I meander a little bit there. Let me stop meandering.
Yeah, you only got 10 minutes. You better stay on task.
I got it. We stay back on task. So here we go. My last Republican to celebrate this week is Mr. Steve Wynn, who is, you remember Steve Wynn is the chairman or the chief finance person for the Republican National Party at the time of Donald Trump's election. Well, turns out that he works for China. According to officials, he has to register as a foreign agent because of his work representing Chinese interests. Not surprising, because we know a lot about the Chinese interests of Donald Trump. We've specifically addressed them on this show many, many times. The many loans he's gotten from China, the tons of people around him, and he's in his circle, from Steve Bannon to Eric Prince to even his son-in-law, Jared, and his daughter, Ivanka. They all have these ties to China, and now so does Steve Wynn. He's the casino magnate. Of course, you know him as that in the real world. But the U.S. Department of Justice on Tuesday sued Steve Wynn, the billionaire former casino mogul and senior Republican fundraiser, to compel him to register under the Foreign Agents Registration Act as an agent of China. The department said Wynn it was 80, had contacted then U.S. President Donald Trump and members of his Republican administration in 2017 to convey China's request to cancel the visa of others or otherwise remove a Chinese business person who had sought political asylum in the United States. I mean, that's bad. This is a guy fundraising, the chief fundraiser for the Republican National Party. And on top of that, he's taking orders or requests from the Chinese government. And between him and Steve Adelson, was it Steve Adelson? What was another Adelson? What is Adelson's first name? Sheldon Adelson was the other guy.
That's it. Yeah.
Two casino magnates, both with huge empires in Macau, which is China's big mobbed up casino area. These guys all have their fortunes tied up in Macau. Sheldon, of course, is dead now, but when he was alive, and his wife still does his work for him, all the money comes from China. And so turns out does Steve Wynn's money come from China. So anytime you hear Donald Trump or anyone in MAGA world tell you that they're anti-China, or that they've
I
got any
know.
they're not anti-China. They are living off China.
Owned
They've
by
been
China.
bought and paid for by China.
That's
Exactly.
kind of like being anti-China,
Yeah.
except for completely fucking opposite,
Yeah.
right?
But that's so true. I mean, it's the most
Right?
hypocritical thing. And there are people who went to that insurrection on Jan 6th and they were like determined. They were like, we're going to keep China out of America. We're going to stop America from becoming a lot like China, like communist China. No, that's not the case. Hey, Hammy.
Hammy,
Oh, how
he's
are you doing?
here.
Oh, I love Hammy. Hammy is like the best moment of my week. I'm sure it must be the best moment of yours too.
He
Um,
says it's hugging time. It's
I know.
hugging time. No, it's not. It's actually
You're
Hammy. It's
early.
not hugging time.
He thinks it is. He thinks it is. But you
He
hug
likes
away. I'm
hugging.
going to read some of the messages here, and then we'll let you go and hug away.
There
Yeah,
you
let's be
go.
real. All MAGA is super dark. This ain't our mama's GOP we're dealing with now. That is correct. We who else I have here that hasn't had a chance. Let's look at some of the stuff that's coming off YouTube. Samantha M says, "Oh, they've all started giving us alternative names for the dark MAGA party." I'm going to avoid saying some of those. I guess I get taken off YouTube. And she says, "Oh, and Donald says Biden is in bed with China." Yes, Carlene Martin points this very, very important detail out that we've been hearing about Biden's associations with China, or supposed associations with China, including the Hunter Biden scandal. Well, I mean, nothing compares to the amount of money that China is pouring into the GOP and into these casino magnates that are supporting and upholding the GOP. And this is why, we started with the show talking about a crime cartel. This is what they are. They are a crime cartel. They're basically run, owned, and
That's
still
right.
and want to do crime. That's what their goal is. They will take everything out of this country that is worth anything. That
No
is
shit.
their
America to these people, we're just a fiefdom,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
we're so easy to pick off. I mean, like I mean, we're so weak in our laws that they're just able to come right in. And, the Supreme Court paved the way, of
right.
course, with Citizens United to make it. And we have that's why I was just tweeting about, I was like, listen, guys, I know that we want big money out of politics, but we don't live in that world. We live in this world. And right now in this world, they have a whole handful of billionaires. We just talked about two of them. One of them's dead and replaced by his wife. They have like a dozen who
Mm,
are spending and cutting and funding a massive this massive infrastructure we look at in all on the right
yeah,
is funded by these billionaires, right?
absolutely,
And so,
absolutely.
at the end of the day, to be able to compete against them, I'm absolutely willing to say we need a few good billionaires right now to stand up for
We do
democracy.
need them. You're
We
absolutely
do.
right. There's no way to compete against these guys unless we do that. And the stakes are really super high. I mean, you mentioned Citizens United, and it takes us right back to Clarence Thomas. Would
Right.
Citizens United have been around without Clarence Thomas? I don't know, but probably not. And Ginny Thomas was there endorsing Citizens United way back then, as she is
Oh, yeah,
today.
I'm sure she helped seed it because
Yeah,
people have to remember Citizens United. I mean, it's not like Rosa Parks on the bus where it was a completely contrived situation,
yeah,
but this dude made a Hillary Clinton movie that was just a bash and was just full of lies and bullshit to frame Hillary Clinton and wanted to air it on television during the campaign. That's how this shit started, right? This
right.
idea that does these big money corporations have is money speech and like we so important for people to understand they have this system that there are billionaires that do good. Bill Gates does good. He's trying to save millions. He's probably saved millions of lives on the African continent,
Mm.
but there is almost none billionaires that are willing to build and fund infrastructure for going toe to toe against the Republican machine.
Oh,
And
there
that,
isn't.
my friends, unfortunately, I'm sad to say, is something we absolutely need because, in their food chain, I came back from that Charlie Kirk show and I told you guys,
Yeah,
they have a whole complex, that one little outfit, Turning Point USA, which is explicitly focused or directly focused on college campus like indoctrination, right? That's
yeah.
the goal of Turning Point. And that's so important to the Republican Party. And they're swimming in so much fucking money that
Mm.
they've given Charlie Kirk an entire compound down
Yeah.
there. I mean,
Well,
that's a big.
all these YouTubers and these people on the far right who do what I do, get enormous amounts of funding, get tons of advertising, get a lot of support from who knows whom, that they've all got these compounds. I mean, they've all got these like secret compounds in Texas. Like, I can't even afford my rent in my apartment here in New York. So it's like, where is sorry, in Toronto, but there's no equivalency in terms of how much money is available on the left versus
and then like even people who are a little bit more into that, like what they want to, like the Knight Foundation, what it wants to focus on is nonpartisan 503c4 whatever shit, right? Where they don't have but the problem with that is then you have to bleach the politics out of the product, right? So it's the exact opposite of what we need. We need billionaires, at least a couple, to step up and say, I'm going to start cutting checks to build institutions that are going to go toe-to-toe against this fascist machine. And if it doesn't happen really soon, guys, it's going to roll over us, because at the end of the day, these midterms are going to come down to salience, and money buys salience. If you're on TV and you're able to buy billboards and there's a lot of money being spent in a race, that's to the good for us, right? And right now they are going to have these cash advantages because our primary funding is bottom up. It's not at all top down financed. It's bad.
And there's not enough bottom up to support it, especially in the middle of a recession that might be coming, and other challenges like inflation. So on that note, cheerful as it might be, it's good to see you again, Rachel. Cheerful. I love Hammy. Oh
Hammy
my God.
says, I like happy hour.
I like Hammy. It should be the Hammy hour. It shouldn't be the happy hour. Can we have the Hammy hour next week? It'll follow the happy hour.
It's always Hammy hour. I get the feeling always going to check in about 5 of 5,
He's just the best. I love them. I love him, and I love you, Rachel Bit-of-Coffee. Thank you for being here tonight.
Love you guys.
Anything you want to share with everybody in terms of promotion or anything you'd like to tell people?
Nope, just stay out of trouble, or tell trouble to stay out of you.
Oh, you'll stay in trouble, I hope, because you're doing some good trouble over there. That's the show for tonight. We'll see everyone on Tuesday on the Narrative Live on Tuesday, and until then, don't forget you can join Narrative at patreon.com/narrative. Have a good night and a great weekend, everybody.
Bye.
Narrative is made possible by viewers like you. You too can support our independent journalism by going to www.patreon.com/narrative.